I've invested time to make that. That is uniquely mine. It has my personality stamped on it. I can share it with friends. I can buy it. Very important. Where's the transaction point? And what we see is we see users spend over 6 minutes doing this. And when they've spent over 6 minutes doing it, this is an average, so that doesn't even count the people who leave immediately. Once they spend over 6 minutes, they get proud. And we like pride because once somebody's proud of something, they want to show off. If they show off on Facebook, they send it to friends. So just to show you the other monetization aspects of it. So we have you can buy the mix, you can make a ringtone, of course. So if we say, here's the original ringtone. Exact same piece of music. You can go somewhere else. I'm sure you're all quick on the uptake, so I needn't belabor a point. But what you've got is instead of one passive experience, you've got an engine that can provide multiple versions of a song that our company, has created, that you, the fans, can buy. They can all be original, you can send them to each other. And in fact, what we see, and we're very encouraged by, we have been running in stealth mode, but we've been doing sales tests, and we see people come in and they buy 4 mixes. They buy 3 ringtones. This is very encouraging for the music business, because if you go back to Lady Gaga and the number of units she shifts, if you can show an incremental increase in that, it's very exciting. And that's really what we're about. Then there's other ways that we can look to create some excitement. Here's a song by a very good artist called Imogen Heap. And I'll start it because it's completely silent. The reason why it's completely silent is because we are allowing the fans to compose or make their own version. There's just her vocal. So I'm going to build it. That is mine. That is my experience. There's nobody there telling me what I have to do, so you can't really see, but up here there are labels telling you what it is. At the top there's original, and normally there's originals all the way down. But what we've done here is we've said there is no original to this. Let's just put it out and see what the fans want. And what you have there is the fans, your market, telling you what they want to buy, because you allow them to compete and vote. So if we go back to Agnes. Here they are, they're voting away, they put it on Facebook, they vote, we see what they like. This came actually from a guy called Terry McBride, who was Avril Lavigne's manager, and he gave me a great story. He said, I had a big trip, because we were talking about exactly this, and he said, I had a big argument with her, actually no longer manages her. It was about the t-shirts for the tour. They'd had a big competition, user-generated content, supply your designs, you the fans, vote on them, and we'll put the top 3 on sale. So he gave them to her, and she said, oh my God, these are just, I won't repeat the words, they're terrible. There's no way I am selling those. And he said, you know, you understand what you're doing, you're rejecting the advice of your fans. Do you think that's a good idea? And she got bullshit. She said, okay, what we'll do is we will print 6 t-shirts. We'll do a run of each of them, 3 of your choice and 3 of the fans' choice. And let's see which sell the most. And of course, we'll know which are going to sell the most because it's so obvious. The fans outsold by at least double all the ones that she'd picked. And this is what we can actually do with music. We can start to crowdsource music. We're not relying on their talent, because there is a talent to this, but you can just come straight in, off the playground, off the street, and make something that's beautiful. Because we've put the music in there, it works in perfect tempo, in perfect harmony, with all of the different variations there, so you can't go wrong. So you really feel that you've created something. And as a musician, I know that that's magic. When I play along to a record or with somebody else, that feeling that you get is a huge emotional reward and buzz. And that's what we want to give to people. When we just press that little button and it goes into a rock guitar, or it goes into a funk version or whatever, that's a rewarding experience, and you really take ownership of that. And that's where we see the monetization aspect, by selling the mixes, by selling all sorts of different products. finally, if you have a look on Facebook, just to give a quick idea. So this is somebody's mix on Facebook. It's for Mika. So if I wanted to go and actually mix the application, there it is. This is this girl's mix. That's her version. That's the original. You might want to do a rock one. And if we go to the charts, we will actually see that this girl was #1 with just under 2,000. They're not huge numbers. They're nothing like Michael's, but they're a very good starting place. And what we know is there's nobody cheating because we watch them very carefully. Because, like Igor said yesterday, you've got to communicate, you've got to watch, you've got to understand. Those listens are only if you've listened over 10% of the song, and we register once an hour from an IP address. So that's real and it's happening. Right, I shall now attempt to go back to PowerPoint. That's the only bit I don't understand. Okay. So I had emergency measures here in case the video didn't work. Skip here. So going back to the fans, what are they actually saying and what are they doing? Well, it's really no surprise that the overwhelming feeling is one of gratitude. They just feel that they're collaborating with their favourite artists. They're next to their artists. There's a lot of hero worship going on. They can't believe the opportunity that they've been given. And we watch the forums and the chat rooms, of course. And this is what's going on. And we see that it does go out into the social networks. We see that, of course, Facebook is definitely #1 by a long way. Hardly anything coming in from MySpace now. But that's also an important element in that what we're not trying to do is to compete with Facebook or any social network. We're actually, to use a clubbing analogy, we don't want to be the club. We want to be in the wallet that you take to the club, because you always take your wallet with you. The clubs vary. And we just want to become an enabler of this content. This is our first embryonic product, if I may call it that. What we see is a whole raft of different products based on interactivity, which I'll get onto later. So what we're doing is we're activating the fan base. We know they're there. We know how they communicate all the time by various means. We know they're into the artists. And what's wonderful about this is because we're focused on sales and not advertising, the rights holders are also interested in working with us. So we have very good relationships, especially with one of the majors who we're just signing on a long-form agreement for Europe with. And we will be working with very big artists, and they are open to it. The publishers are open to it because it's about sales, sales, sales. And that's done by gamification. I know nothing about games, and it probably shows. So we're very interested in finding anybody who can bring something to the party. So this is all well and good, David, but you know, what do the artists actually say? Well, I'm very proud because I'm an old git, and I remember Frankie Goes to Hollywood coming out. So when we first did their remix for their 25th anniversary, we got one single word back for feedback from the artist management, and it was genius. And I'm very proud of that indeed. And I think it's because musicians are misunderstood. First of all, where they are now is new musicians coming up and going forward. They've played SingStar, they've played Guitar Hero. They're all into UGC, they understand it completely. And a musician, by nature, stands on a stage and collaborates with other people. In actual fact, you give this to a musician, what they do is they start playing around with it and say, oh, that's cool, that's fun, I didn't think of that. Because music to them is not a fixed digital asset or piece of tape. It's something that is a performance. And that's the way it always used to be. Music's been around for as long as humans have been here. And the idea that you fix a performance in time is probably going to be very short-lived. So the artists are actually fine. There's going to be somebody like Celine Dion who doesn't like it. So I'm not saying it's there for everybody. We don't want to be there for everybody. But for the right artists, with the right target groups, with the right attitude, we're really into helping them and to make some extra money. What about the content owners? Well, money, basically. They're in deep, well, you know where they are. So they are desperate. They will try anything as long as you don't shatter their rules. This is a complex rule set, which is, I won't go into, but partly corporate greed, of course. So you have to work within the parameters and innovate. Just as you innovate the product, you have to innovate your business model and understand that they have their lawyers sitting there and they have their goals. Okay, but just innovate. Make sure you can work a way out that everybody wins, and this is what this is designed as, win-win. Haha. These guys, Swedes, of course. I live in Sweden, and it's a fantastic place that breeds all sorts of different technology. Skype, and the Pirate Bay, of course, and Spotify. So, going back to my 13-year-old goddaughter, as she is, India, sitting there and listening to Eminem, which she got off Pirate Bay. Well, I think that my theory, and this is definitely going to be contentious, is that first of all, well, this is less contentious. Copyright is really just outdated legislation. It comes from an era when you had to protect your print. This is no longer the case. This is completely different. What are you protecting here? There's a huge amount of debate about this, and rightly so. But nonetheless, there does have to be some protection for people who invest enormous amounts of money. But I think it's much more along the lines of the presentations that I've seen here today, which are all about, okay, the rules are changing, let's innovate. Let's do it by upgrades. Let's do it by updates. Let's not try and do one single box. But the music industry is still very much in that form, so they're trying to protect it. So going on to why do people pirate? I think, and I think Spotify actually backs this up, they do it because they don't really value it. If you give them a better experience, they'll go to that better experience. Pirate Bay is very clunky, BitTorrent is very clunky, so they go to Spotify. So I would say that people who are looking for things for free are not really wanting to steal. They're just doing it because they don't want to give you any money. They don't value anything. That doesn't mean they want to steal everything. Just like India asked, how much was Plants vs. Zombies? She wanted to pay. No problem with it at all. So I would say that piracy, in this instance for the music industry, is actually an illustration of an outdated product. Time to innovate to make something they will pay for. They'll pay for gigs, they'll pay for collector's items, they'll pay for all sorts of things, just not that flat, dull experience that everybody has. It's wonderful, by the way, but it's complementary, it's not the only thing. So what we see is a future of music which has a wonderful diversity of platforms, each one of which should have a different type of way to interact with the music. There can be games, there can be a very similar product to the one you've seen, there can be, as Igor was saying yesterday, the difference between an iPhone and an iPad is enormous. One is a casual thing that you do on the tube or you do in the loo, and the iPad, I'm sitting there on the couch and I'm consuming media. So they're very different platforms and they're very different opportunities. And the web, of course, is there as well, a different opportunity. The device will be irrelevant, the point of entry will be irrelevant. It's all about the experience, and that experience, once you've got there, is a point of sale. What we need to do is to encourage fans to share music, not discourage them, but ensure that we generate a revenue stream from doing that, and that we're able to measure it. And that's what we're trying to do, through Pride. So the actual, sorry, these slides are so dark. So the actual way that we see it working is that, yes, the content owners are down there. They'll shift in balance in who's more important. The artists and managers will make their own labels and they'll become important, but they'll eventually turn into labels, and so the whole thing will go round in circles as it always does.